There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Apple is live.
There's a good number of fucking, pretty smart Bcashers.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is number 162, MOCA app and point of sale systems featuring Eric and Zay. Today is Saturday, the 27th of September, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing. Quick check on the markets. BCH is $545.91 US cents, which is down a little. 1 BTC sat buys 200 BCH sats, which is down slightly. 1 ETH buys 737 megasats, and Selene has 572 30-day users with a tokenomics TVL of 14,031 BCH. Our guests today are the Chief of Growth and CEO at MOCA app, Eric and Zay. Welcome to the show, both of you. And maybe starting with Eric, then Zay, how did you get into Bitcoin?
So I got into Bitcoin in 2010 when I heard about it. I mean, in Mexico, you barely had debit card adoption back then. Well, I mean, you did have, but only in certain sectors. And I heard about Bitcoin. And I asked my mom, "Hey, can I borrow your card to buy some Bitcoin?" And she was in the banking sector, so she told me, "Of course not. That's a scam. You're never gonna get some anything from me. If you want to find a way." I was like 19, 20, so I said, "Okay, well, good luck." I didn't do anything. And I lost track of Bitcoin. And then around 2016, I heard about it again through a social platform that did cryptocurrency. And I thought it was too late for me. So I faded again. And it wasn't until 2018 that I actually got into actively investing in crypto. So it's a sad story, because had I had the access to being able to buy it, maybe I would have. I don't know. The story would be different, but yeah, I've been in crypto for probably 7 to 8 years.
That's not such an uncommon story. I mean, the same thing happened to me, where I wasn't even 18 yet when I was starting to get interested in it, and I had to try and convince my parents had like some shares that they had in my name, only a small amount. But I was kind of like, look, I got to dump these shares. Never mind about Commonwealth Bank. Like, they're useless. Let's just all into Bitcoin. And because my parents were still the signatory on the account, I had to try and convince them. And I wish I had a screen recording of that, like, to this day, But I just remember this famous call where I tried to convince both of my parents that they should let me all in on Bitcoin. And my mum was like, definitely not. And my dad was kind of like, yeah, definitely you should do it. If you get scammed, that'll teach you a lesson. But in the end, I ended up just having to wait a couple of months until I was 18, so I could just do it on my own. But in hindsight, I sometimes bring that up to my parents. So I don't know. Do you give your mum any grief about that she wouldn't let you get into Bitcoin?
No, we were never able to really discuss it. But I what I still benchmark on is, so I told her, "Hey, so you give me $15 a week for my expenses at school, whatever. Just use that to buy it." And she was like, "No, here's the money. If you want to buy it, go find a way." And since I was so lazy, I ended up buying, usual party stuff. I don't want to be cigarettes, blah blah. And then you end up thinking about it, and so frustrating. But yeah, it's just. And I remember I heard about it on a radio station. There was this wacko guy who was speaking about it, and I never heard about him again after that interview because probably everyone thought he was a wacko. But he was so intense about how Bitcoin was the future, and in hindsight, he was even using some sort of sell point of this is what people are going to be using to buy stuff in the future, and it was so innovative back then, and right now that ethos seems to be forgotten. So
Certainly up to us to rescue the industry from its
yeah.
declining lack of focus. That's what we're definitely here to do. Zay, how about you? How do you get into Bitcoin?
Well, it's kind of the same story as many of us. And it was like 10 years ago, I guess, something like that. I was barely 18, 19 years old. And one of my friends, actually, he was always into the rabbit hole of what new tech things are out there. And we're from Mexico. So he was telling me, oh, there's this thing called Bitcoin that you should know about, and let's buy some. Like, we could buy some at the time because, well, it was affordable. And he was like, let's buy some of this thing. We didn't even know what was it, like how hard was it to buy it. And also we didn't have a credit card because we were barely 18 or 19 at the time. And we didn't want to ask our parents because of course they will say, what's that? Like, and we didn't even know what was it really. So how could we explain that? So we were just trying to find a way to buy it. It was not easy to buy it at the time. I remember, like, there was no like easy place to go and just buy something. So we were kind of reaching out to some other people in blogs, and like, but it sounds so sketchy because like going to this random blog of people that you don't know somewhere in Europe trying to explain you how to put money into something that doesn't exist, that you won't have it. Yeah, everything seemed so sketchy at the time, but we were still trying to do it. We even managed to get there was this like convenience store that it's huge in Mexico, and they came up with this card, like a bank card backed by Visa, but it was a debit card, but it was supposedly you could use it for buying stuff online. So we really tried, but I don't know if it was because that was so sketchy websites that it never went through. So I had mine, then he went and tried to get his because he said maybe one of both will work. Like, it never worked, so we weren't able to actually buy it, and we forgot about it. And then like years later it get exploded and we just regret it. Yeah, that's how I got into it in the beginning.
So then what was it that was it the price gains in a particular year that attracted you back and made you take a fresh look at it? How did you come back to be part of the scene then?
Well, actually, I then later on I started working in software, Web2 software, and then I met someone, and he was talking about Web3 software, and then that's like the snowball effect. Everything came together. Everything started making sense. Like, he was talking about all the things that were missing from the scene, and how everybody was losing focus and like trying to showcase more the tech instead of actually making it usable and friendly for the users. So that was interesting for me because that was basically my main focus where I was working Web2, like making products, making good products. So how can we get this tech and make it usable? So that was appealing to me, and it made sense because the news, like if you start listening and researching, like Bitcoin is everywhere. Like every country now, it's wanting to adopt it somehow, somewhere. Like there's, I don't know, like it might not be like this, but in most, or if not all of the countries right now, at least one of the people in top is asking for it, or is looking into making it happen, like making it part of its reserves or something. So it makes sense to build tech around Bitcoin and around crypto in general. So it seemed like a smart move. So that's how I got back into it.
Well, sounds like you have a similar angle to it than me, like as the same as me then, because I always find it fascinating that Bitcoin is, of course, a lot of things, but some people really come at it from the political angle. That's what draws them and attracts them to it. And that's why they feel so passionate about it, especially among those early adopters, right? Where it was the big libertarian crowd and the ANCAPs and all that stuff, cypherpunk mentality, etc. And then you have some now increasingly is dominated by these kind of like finance bro types where they just want to make money. And this is another thing that they can put in the list of assets that they sell to clients. And so I was watching a podcast the other day with these 4 guys that were talking about stablecoin adoption. And I was thinking, I don't recognize like any of this, but apparently it's still, crypto industry. And then the third sort of pillar at it, which I think you and I come at it from, is maybe the like product and engineering type of focus. If you have been working in tech startups and you are familiar with how things actually get shipped, how do new technologies get rolled out, what goes on behind the scenes. We were talking before the show about, app updates and like all those different things that you're actually trying to find a market and help people adopt the technology, right? Like the finance side couldn't care less if it really gets adopted as long as they can find a way to make money. And the politics side maybe cares that it gets adopted to the extent that it can push their political agenda. But politics being what it is, they're also easily distracted to move on to something else that is, the current thing, right? So for them, Bitcoin was kind of like, oh, well, this is going in the right direction that we want, but they aren't going to be the hardcore ones there every single day actually building it and rolling it out to users. So I wonder if you have any thoughts on that. Do you think that influences the way you see Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because going back to something that you said, I think politics is really into making Bitcoin usable, but they get distracted. But also, once they start reaching into it, they realize that they will not be able to control it fully, and that's something that also push them back, like push legislations back, because we know governments want more control and more power. Like that's how it is. So once they realize, well, we're giving them more freedom by using this, it might not be the right move, unless like it's like the party and it's losing and like they're gonna lose control of the country, and they just use it as forefront of, oh no, we're trying to give freedom back to you, so let's do this. But if they're like the winning party and they are always there, like the like almost like kings reigning over this country, it's hard for me to see it happen. But they will try to integrate it somehow, because now the finance world, it's so into it. But that's also scary for us, because now you have these huge ass financial companies that are putting money into it, and they are putting a lot of money into having the tech to mine these blocks. And now you have something that we will never have seen years ago, that it's these big companies having 3-4 blocks, one next to the other, being mined by the same company. So that let us like, it's scary, because the more the tech advances and the cheaper the chips get, and like now they are like making these chips so more scalable and so more efficient in parallel processing because of AI. So now you can have some company start building 10, 15, 20 blocks at a time. So now what's the truth in the blockchain? Because we rely on, well, it's hard to mine blocks in a row. So if that stopped being the case for some people, well, how secure are we? So for me, that's a big concern. And I think there's really smart people working in the background trying to fix this, and for sure they will come up with some solution and some way to make it as secure as possible. But that's things that I worry about. Like every day I just get this news of what's happening, and
Mining is definitely a bit of a variable industry, because the whole concept of the mining decentralization is that it will stay, unbalanced over time, right? That it will not all centralize onto one thing. And that kind of relies on the fact that the world is always changing. There's always somewhere that new energy technology is being invented, or somewhere where it's cheaper to manufacture chips, or global politics has shifted slightly in one place or another. But I think it's actually a fairly valid criticism that you sometimes see from people who are not convinced that the mining industry, specifically, I'm thinking of like Milan Derrida and other people like that, have these arguments that, well, I'm not convinced, even though Bitcoin mining has proved fairly censorship resistant for the last 15 or 16 years, I'm not convinced it's going to stay that way. Now, that's a little bit of putting the burden on the wrong, party, because I feel like, well, it's worked for 16 years, so it's actually up to the critics to prove that it will not stay that way. Whatever their theories of mining centralization or economies of scale or whatever, reality has proven that there's enough mining demand all over the world that nobody seems to be able to control it just via mining hash rate. But at the same time, I can understand why people would think, well, maybe at some point, it just all conglomerates down to one big party, and then that's it, it's over. I mean, luckily we now have a whole industry of alternatives, so people would, I guess, switch, and in that is the ultimate decentralization. But it's certainly an ever-present threat, especially in the Bitcoin scene. Eric, do you have a take on that? Do you follow the mining industry very closely?
Yes, but I kind of want to give the topic a twist. So when you have, let's compare this to any kind of hobby or any kind of when you have this adoption loop, it doesn't matter if it's a Web 2 app, if it's a Web 3 app, if it's Bitcoin itself, if it's Bitcoin Cash. When you have, so in the growth loop, you always have your user base, your loyal user base, the hardcores that will help you grow and get more people. And so we are almost 8 billion people in the world. When you try to onboard more people, then they are like, oh yeah, so this is a pyramid scheme. No, it's just adoption, and you want more people to join because there's always this fight for attention between everything in the world, that you need a bigger user base, right? But what happens when you have this kind of cognitive dissonance between the people who are telling you, hey, join this movement, and the people who are joining? And the moment that you stop getting users or getting new members of the community, it doesn't matter if it's a Magic the Gathering kind of movement or if it's a Bitcoin movement, if they join the community for the wrong reasons, eventually with every kind of adoption loop, you have people that came before that stop giving a crap and that they move on to newer things. Like, for example, the old Bitcoiners, some of them moved to Bitcoin Cash, some of them moved to Zcash, some of them moved to Ethereum, etc. And then your hardcore user base starts to thin down, which is normal. But what you want is that the new people join you with the same mindset and the same goals that original ethos was about, right? But what's happening with Bitcoin and what's happening with some of the main cryptocurrencies, the people that are joining with a different mindset and with a different approach to things. And that's where you have right now, for example, 2025, you have people giving keynotes that have nothing to do with the original ethos of crypto and blockchain. And then you start speaking with people around and they haven't heard about Bitcoin Cash. They don't even know that there was a hard fork. They don't know that the data plays a big role in what happened in 2015, for example. And you stop having that original movement fuel, and you end up with people in the industry leading the industry that do not care a little bit about what crypto and blockchain was meant to disrupt. And you want, at one point we wanted the status quo to change, to have an alternative of peer-to-peer cash than the main alternative, which was gold backed fiat. And then you realize that, oh, what am I doing here? I don't even resonate with the existing community in Bitcoin. People in blockchain are no longer looking for tech disruption. They're just looking for number go up. Oh wow, MicroStrategy wants to buy 5% of Bitcoin. Is that good? Is that bad? And then you start asking people around, and they think that's good. You don't do your own research. You don't read. You don't know what's happening. You started to see that Tom Lee also wants to buy 5% of Ethereum. And then you see number go up. And then you are like, okay, how can this be bad if it's going up, right? And it turns out that 99% of the people do not know about hash rates, do not know about mining wars, do not even know that you have to have Bitcoin at certain price so that people who are mining and institutions who are mining, they need to be at break even or higher. And, all of this stuff that people are simply, maybe it's not that they don't care about it, it's that they don't know about it. And should they know, like you want to know where does the adoption look, that information matters, right? And it's so weird, man, because I feel like the more we get adopted, the more we are losing the original ethos of what was Bitcoin and what is supposed to be blockchain.
Yes.
I have my opinion on that topic, and just so you know, we haven't talked, and we don't know if we're on the same page on several topics. Like Eric has its own way of thinking, and we don't have like one that we need to propose. So I might disagree with some of the points that he is talking about, or if not disagreeing, but have my own opinion about it, because I think there's a place for everyone. And there's people that need to know, and there's people that don't need to know. There's people that need and have the need to know what's happening because they really care what's all of the ethos behind this. But there's people that really don't care, and even if you explain that to them, they won't care because it's not part of their philosophy, it's not part of their mindset. They just want to use it, and that's it. And it's okay, in my opinion, that's okay, because you are not going to exclude people from using this amazing tech just because they don't feel that the mindset of Satoshi and the ethos behind Bitcoin, it's not part of their philosophy. That's like, I see people using iPhone every day, but they don't see the news of what's on the newest iPhone. They don't care. I love tech, so I'm always like watching news, like Marquis channel. I'm watching all of these tech YouTubers of just trying to find about leaks and everything beforehand, and I want to see what's happening in the background, like where the chips are coming from. And then I start getting into politics, like why are they moving what they're building from China into Vietnam or India, whatever. Like I really care about that because I really care of what's happening and what's going to be in my hands and on my pocket for like every day, and who's going to be able to see, because let's not lie to ourselves. Like, they are hearing us, they are listening to us, they are watching us, but who is it and what are they doing with it? So I care about that. But my mom doesn't. Like, she doesn't care, and she doesn't have to. Like, she just wants me to call her and be able to answer. And I think it's the same thing with this tech. I really care about the freedom that this gives us. I really care about keeping this as secure as possible of this huge as conglomerates that want to take care and centralize this somehow, and like having power over the 51% of all the Bitcoin in the world and all the mining capability, so that they can do something somehow. I really care about that, and that's something that I care as a person, but also because I lead this company, and I really care how's the scene looking, and if it's still a good choice to keep on going. If I start seeing these huge ass companies buying and buying and buying crypto but never selling, and then you start seeing how much they have and what are they doing with it, and they're just speculating with the price, and tomorrow they will just sell half of it so that the price drop is like crazy, and then 2 weeks later they buy it all back again, and they are just making profit out of all of us. Well, that's not a game that I can play against with. I think it's also part of our responsibility, us, like you with the podcast, us as a company, we that are developing these tools, one, to teach them enough so that they can use it and understand what's happening, but also give them the tools that are simple enough so that they can use it without thinking of what's happening in the background. That's what iPhone does. That's why it's so popular. Nobody knows what's happening in their phone. Nobody knows about chips. Nobody knows about G5. Nobody knows about anything. Like, they just use it and it's easy, and they open it and they open the box and it's already on. Ooh, that's amazing. It works. And I get it. Like, for them, it's like magic. Like, how possible the battery, it's being like, the phone has been on for weeks or months in the warehouse. No, that's not possible. That's magic. Well, it just works, and for them it works, and that's what matters. And I think we need to do the same with crypto. We need to make the hard part look like magic, but understandable magic for them. Like, how am I sending money to the other side of the world in minutes, and not going through a bank? Because the question that I always get is, where is it? Where is the Bitcoin? Like, who has it? But is it in the US? Like, well, no. And try to explain that to your mom. It's gonna be really hard. Like, you can try every day for a year, and you might not be able to do it, depending on how tech savvy she is, or your dad, or your grandma. And that's our fault. I think that really is our fault, because we got really in love with the tech, that we forgot that it wasn't easy. Like, look, we have this cryptographic algorithm that it's so secure, and like, no computer can break this in a million years. Yeah, that's amazing, but they don't care.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a tension there between the industry and how that it has become an industry versus the revolution or the culture, and people who are trying to evangelize need to understand that users can actually spread the influence of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency economically without understanding all the different layers of everything that goes onto it. And of course, that information is there for people who care, but ultimately for mass adoption, that's all just got to be abstracted away for the 99.9% of people who are not going to be behind the scenes making the magic happen. Which brings us to MOCA app. So maybe tell me a little bit, Zay, about how you founded MOCA app and what's the game plan with that.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I was talking to this friend that it's into the Web3 ecosystem, and like, he was telling me how actually what we were just talking about, like, how hard is it for a normie to use crypto, and how hard is to explain it, and why it has to be that, like that. Like, he thought at the time that there's a way to do it that it's easy enough, and he always uses this analogy of a kitchen. Like, when you go to a restaurant, you don't want to go into the kitchen and see how everything is made, and like, be there 40 minutes just watching the cook and him explaining you what's happening. For some people that might be interesting, and they might pay for it, but for the 99% of the people, they just want to sit down, hang out with their friends, chat while something is happening in the background. Food arrives and they eat. So that's what we were trying to do with MOCA, and that's what we are trying to do right now. And I think we are on the right track there. We have this amazing tech. Everything that we do in MOCA is decentralized. Everything that we do it's being built from the ground up, so that it's simple enough for people to adopt it. For me, this current version of MOCA, it's the first step into the vision that we have. We are still aiming to the people that knows crypto, and the people that already understand how crypto works, at least on like mid-lower level, but they know what's a chain, and they know that the token is not something physical, and they know that there are different tokens and different chains. And if you know that, you understand what's happening, and you have to understand what's a wallet, and all these things that are implicit in crypto. So this current version, it's for this public that already knows that. But we are aiming to evolve this and add features and make it abstracted, so that now people don't know that even they're using crypto. We are building on some other products that we cannot talk right now about them, but those products will be so normie like, so Web2 like, that people will be able to use them without knowing that there's crypto tech in the background. And for
Right.
me, that's the end goal. Like,
Yeah,
use
yeah.
the tech, don't have to know what's happening.
Well, so you've got so far, I believe you've got the wallet that you're just sort of getting to the launch stages of now. So it's a multi-coin type of crypto wallet, and you're also trying to offer sort of point of sale systems and business tooling, and then also like a block explorer and so forth, right? So this is very reminiscent of the Bitcoin Cash style approach to crypto adoption, where the community has various times and in various places, like in Townsville or in St. Kitts right now, there's good hubs, like in Argentina and in the Philippines with Paytaka, right, where the community have tried to make a decentralized set of wallets and point of sale tooling, and then really go to physical merchants and onboard people into them, which requires not only, of course, the wallets for the consumers, but also the point of sale devices and the accounting and management and so forth for the businesses. Now, that's had mixed success over the years. There's been some really great examples of it working, and when it does, it's amazing because you could really feel like, wow, we're really living on crypto. But at the same time, it has a huge problem with building initial traction because it's so hard to build that network effect in one physical location, especially of a mass of consumers that then drives the businesses to actually see transactions coming through regularly enough that their staff don't forget, how to use the software and stuff like that. So making it easy enough that that barrier is lowered, I can see being a viable strategy. But have you looked into what efforts sort of the BCH community and others, like, I don't know, maybe Dash or similar ecosystems have done? And what did you find there that you're hoping to work into your own set of products?
Well, we are putting a lot of effort, especially on the products that are aimed for example, for the business owner or for the actual waiter in a restaurant that they don't want to have the time to learn, and they don't have it, they don't want to, and they will forget if they don't use it. So we're putting a lot of effort in designing those products specifically for them so that they can see the app and they know how to do it. Like they don't even need an onboarding of how to do that. So that's something that we're working on. But also we did a research of products that are similar, companies that are doing something similar. And of course, there's people doing kind of the same thing that we're doing, but you mentioned Dash. We are really friends with them, and we are always seeing how we can work with other chains and other companies and make their best features part of the MOCA ecosystem. And what I've seen is that there's people doing point of sale, there's people doing APIs for subscriptions and e-commerce, there's people doing wallets. What we are trying to build is the full ecosystem, that everything works seamlessly all across. Like we are not only like specializing on a point of sale, we're not only specializing on a decentralized wallet, we're trying to make everything together. But that, not only that, we are opening our tech to everyone. We don't want to steal people from other wallets, and that's really important. And I want to say this loud and clear. We are not trying to steal users from other wallets and other chains. We are trying to bring people that it's outside the crypto ethos into the ecosystem, even if they don't know that they are using it. We are opening our tech. If you have a wallet that you use every day and you will wish that wallet to support the MOCA payment system, that it's as simple as scanning a QR code in the point of sale and pay. If you want that to happen, help us reach them, let them know through their social media, let them know through X, through email, whatever, through the app, if there's a way to contact them and ask for the feature. It's free for them. And not only that, we are sharing the revenue with the wallets. So if we are charging 50 bips for the transactions that go through the point of sale, we are giving them a part of that revenue to the wallet that it's allowing you to pay to that business. So that's something that I haven't seen somebody else do. Like they want everything for themselves, and they are trying. It's hard. Like it's hard to steal people to from some other wallet, because it's hard to trust a wallet, because well, you don't know what's happening in the background. Well, guess what? Our tech is open source, so you will be able to go to our repos and see everything. And if you know a little bit about tech, you can go and check everything. Like you can go line by line. And if you see something that looks sketchy, let us know. And if you see something that's a vulnerability, of course, let us know and we will fix it. That's why it's open source, because we want the community to be part of it. So
Yeah.
that's a point that you won't have to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that really comes to my mind as well when you're driving this kind of adoption, it is a little bit of a different approach. You're right to try and speak to other wallet providers and help them to integrate directly with your point of sale system. I think that's a great idea. You know, we may or may not end up doing something like that with Celine. But when you say that you're going to build the full ecosystem, you're going to have your own wallet, you're going to have your own point of sale system, and so forth. The reason that people typically specialize is because tackling even one of those is obviously a huge task, and trying to do several at once is even harder than that, especially with the monetization of it. How are you funding the initial development? Do you have some VC investors? Are you bootstrapping it? And then what's the game plan? Like you mentioned, the monetization on a per transaction fee. How's
Yeah,
that going to work?
we had some initial investment, and we are still running with that initial investment. We don't have VCs yet, and we want to keep on with that investment as far as we can make it last, because once you get into the VC game, they are start to asking for things that might not go with the vision of the company. I'm not saying that it won't happen; it might, but if we can go as far as we can go with private investment and people that share the mindset, because we've had offers, like there's people that come to us and offer us some good investment, but they don't share the mindset. They just want the money. And for us, it's not only about making the money, it's about the ethos behind crypto, like we don't want to have centralized exchange in the background. We don't. We want everything to be decentralized. First of all, because well, that's what we want. That's our philosophy. And the other, it's easier to put it worldwide if it's decentralized. Like regulations are way less when you are decentralized. Because then I am not an exchange. I am not a bank. I don't need to register in any country as a banking app. I don't need to be registered as an exchange in any country, because I don't touch the people's money. It never goes through MOCA. We are just a good front end that allows you to use some third party decentralized services, and we get a fee out of it and we share it. So
Yeah.
so that's how it works with that part of it.
No, it sounds amazing. And this is something that crypto, I think, historically has certainly been lacking. We've talked about it on this show many times before. The fact that because there's so many engineering nerds in crypto, the actual technology itself is quite good, but it's maybe not appealing or intuitive once it's all wrapped up and presented, with a slick front end to users. And it doesn't matter how amazing your, international payments, blockchain settling technology or whatever is, or smart contracts, any of this stuff, if it's so ugly that people won't just adopt it en masse, or they can't figure out how to use it unless they're willing to watch a multi-hour podcast and get to the bottom of it. So I like that you're bringing that sort of design focused thinking to the industry. Eric, tell me about your role in these products and the ThorChain integration.
Here's the thing, and one of the main things, and I got sold by many things, but one of the things that really struck out to me was when I joined MOCA, I saw that there was a design team behind the products, and I was like, oh wow, these guys, because okay, so MOCA has been developing for probably like a year and 8 months or something like that. They correct me if I'm wrong, but I joined 9 months ago, so. I saw there was a design team, and it was not just and forgive me for the raw commentary, but it was not just some a bunch of devs trying to ship a product. It was a bunch of devs thinking about the product, but the design team was the one in charge of selling the product. And it's exactly what you mentioned. You have to make it sexy. And one of the main conversations we usually have is that, okay, the logic, the product has to be on point, but it has like the other 50%, and it's not the 10%, it's the other 50%. It has to look nice. It has to look appealing to the users, right? So it's the same with growth and marketing and business development. You have to have a dedicated team that puts out the word about what the development team is doing. So that's basically my part. And the other thing that sold me was when I asked, okay, so how far away are we from product, from launching? Okay, so it's going to be probably like 8 months, nine months. So I was like, oh, finally a crypto team or a team that wants to do crypto stuff, that has the mindset of getting a growth team not a week before token generation event or launch, but actually with months in advance, because that's exactly how real growth in Web2 companies, or well, I should just say companies, does things better, right? You have to create some storytelling. You have to create not even a community, because, for example, Web2 does not need a community to launch something. They nurture it and they create it as they go. But in crypto, since you have other factors that determine your success, like token adoption, like what's the word, like person to person shilling, etc. The growth, it's a little bit different. But for MOCA, you need to have both. You need to have the crypto growth side of things, because you have these financial tools and you have this adoption that is born from crypto usage, but you're also building for people outside of crypto. So you need another strategy to attack that kind of people or that market, because in the end, the attention span of the crypto crew is like 25 seconds, and if they've been in memes, it's like 15. But you also have the traditional audience, where moms, if they like Farmville in Facebook, they will stick to it for years and years, and it's been 10 years and probably some moms still play it. So you need to have strategies for both. So what I'm doing is, what I've been doing for a while now is to have these two strategies, well, more than two, but these two main strategies completely defined, and then understand how to reach these markets. And you have to make it appealing for all of the audiences. And of course, you have these steps that you want to start deploying once we get to certain growth metrics. Of course, you need KPIs and all of that. But in the end, you have to resonate with people. And that's exactly why I've been going to the Thorchain podcast spaces where we met. That's why we've been going to XOPL podcasts. And that's why I actually want to be more active in the Bitcoin Cash community. And this is actually something that is nice to mention. So MOCA right now supports more than 20 tokens or 20 blockchains with the native tokens. At one point, we also want to support most of the stable coins on these chains. But we do have some ecosystems that resonate more with the vision that we have, and one of them is Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash is probably, and I don't want to be too aggressive, but it's probably the one that wants exactly what MOCA is doing the most, because you need a peer-to-peer transaction, peer-to-peer cash system that actually works and that people can use it on their daily life. And Townsville is one of the best examples there. And going back to what you said before, you have Dash, you have Bitcoin Cash, you even have some XRP in New York communities that want to create the circular economies. But it's so hard because, one, you only have one option, right? So if people do not resonate with Bitcoin Cash, or they do not resonate with XRP or whatever, then your growth loop starts to lose steam. But what happens when you have 20 blockchains behind supported, and then you can tell them, okay, yeah, so I mean, if you want, we recommend using Bitcoin Cash, but if you are a Solana bro, you can also use Solana, right? And then you create this general community that uses MOCA without having to betray their blockchain, right? So Dash is doing something amazing. They've been like Joel has been paying with crypto for like 10 years before, like I think he was the first one who did it like so popular, right? But here's the thing: when people do not resonate with Dash, then you have this obstacle of how hard can you promote something and not get it adopted, or get it adopted to a point where you need something else, right? So like Zay said, we don't want people to leave their blockchain or to leave their ethos to come do payments. We want them to know that, okay, if you want to use them with your favorite blockchain or your aligned blockchain, that's fine. We also have some other options. And for normies, that is going to be amazing, because not everyone gets onboarded through Ethereum. Not everyone gets onboarded through XRP. So if you give them all of the tools and you tell them this one's probably better or this one's probably cheaper, etc., then they will be able to adopt it themselves. Like they said, they have to use the app without even knowing there's something blockchain happening in the background. But yeah, so
I mean, this is a huge
whole goal.
This is a huge win, for the BCH community, which has historically been small and therefore has struggled to attract outside companies, multi-coin type companies like yours to be involved. So I'm fascinated by this case study, and I'm wondering if you can give any indication. Like you already said, the vision alignment is really quite important. But when you talk to other communities, or when you talk to the BCH community, what are the top things that a community can be offering you to make your life easier? Because like you said, if you bring a lot of the user base or the slick front ends or whatever, and BCH is just powering the infrastructure, that's a huge win for BCH. No, we're definitely not going to turn that down. But of course, we're in competition with all the other ecosystems, and of course, being decentralized, there's not necessarily one coordinated way that things happen. There's not one point of contact. There's not one way of doing anything, really. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that. What, in your ideal world, what would the BCH community be providing or offering to make your life easier in integrating it into your apps and products?
Yeah, Zay, do you want to take that, or should I?
Let me go ahead. First of all, that what he just talked about basically answers the question, why was this multi-coin approach attractive? So that we can bring everyone into it. We want to be the general ecosystem for payments and for real world transactions. So that's the answer to that question. And what you can bring, first of all, is people that use it. Your community, once this is alive and tested, and they can start bringing people into the ecosystem. They can start inviting people. They can start inviting businesses. Good news, for the business is free. The business doesn't pay anything. They don't have a monthly fee, a yearly fee. They can have it and don't use it, and it's fine. They can have it and use it, and it's also fine for them. Like, if they were being charged 5%, 3% from Visa or MasterCard or their banking payment solution, well, this one is free for them. So that's also good. So you can help us with that. You can help us spread the word to wallets, as we mentioned. Hey, it doesn't matter which one do you use. Let them know that we are here, that they can get revenue by integrating this thing that a junior developer can integrate in one day, because we have all the documentation and the APIs, and it's really easy to use it. And also, if there are developers out there that are working with BCH and they are doing amazing work, we are developing everything in Flutter. So we are using Dart. We're not using JavaScript. And there's a strategic reason for that. And one was it that natively Flutter, it's a cross-platform language. So you were talking about, I don't know how you managed to build all these products because it's so hard. Well, regularly you will have one team developing in iOS, the other one in Kotlin for Android, and another one for web. We can have one team developing a full solution, and we can just build it for all the different tech stacks. So that's one reason we're building in Flutter. The other one, we are building all the tech from the ground up, so we can have a better control of what's happening with the libraries. Because when we started, we look into the most used JavaScript library, that it's Exchange.js. Kudos to them; they do an amazing work there. But they have lots and lots and tons of dependencies. So then, if one of those dependencies stop being updated and it's not developed by them, somebody will have to come in and do that and learn how to do it and maintain it. So, and especially when chains modify the way they sign transactions, or something happens there in the code of a chain, then you have to go back and modify those dependencies. It doesn't happen that often, but Exchange.js has tons of chains being supported, so it's a possibility, and it has happened before with Ethereum, for example. Also, everybody's building on JavaScript. That's fine. It works. It's good. It's tested. It's proven. It's good. But then you have a risk of, well, it's easier or more attractive for someone trying to hack something to go and attack those libraries, because there's like a ton of projects on that, instead of just attacking this library that it's just one. Of course, once we grow up and like we have tons of money going through it, we will have people trying to do some malicious thing. We are not exempt to that, but at least at the beginning, that's also kind of like a shield, if you want to say so, for that. And we saw it happen recently with some.
I was just going to mention that the
in the
npm
library.
supply attacks. Yes, exactly.
And guess what? We don't use JavaScript, so we were safe. And there are also some other things happening in the Exchange library, that somebody found something that might be a vulnerability, and we were fine with that. So we are still with that. We don't say that we are like super secure against those things, in the matter of it won't never happen to us. Of course, things happen, but we are always looking into it and trying to make it as secure as possible. And every time we go back, we are actually working on redesigning and rebuilding our core libraries of cryptographic things, because, well, we started from scratch, and every time you're learning things or whatever, and then we now know some things that we didn't know back then, and we can improve on it. So we are refactoring everything in the background, and that's for the good of the people. So if you have good developers out there, and some of them like Flutter and Dart, and they want to build some dependencies for BCH, let us know, because it's hard for us to integrate a new token, because then we have to build our own code specifically in Dart or Flutter for that token. So yeah, we have chains come to us and say, hey, I want my token integrated. Here's the SDK. I'm like, yeah, your SDK is in JavaScript. Thank you. I would really love to have it, but at the moment, it will take a considerable amount of resources to just integrate the token. If you want to pay for the development, go ahead. We can do it. And now you have a Flutter library that is public, and everybody else can use it, but we won't pay for it at front, because we have other priorities, and we have promises that we've made to our users. So I think those three things are the main things that can really work for us with BCH and other chains.
Well, it's fascinating insight. Yeah, go on.
Can I complement this? Okay, so that's like the tech part of things, but also if like Bitcoin Cash has a lot of normal people, right? Well, I like normal people because they don't develop and they don't know anything about the back end. But I imagine there's a lot of people that want to get involved, but they cannot get involved on the tech side. But there's also a couple of things that, okay, so this is the salesman inside me speaking, but if you want to get involved with MOCA and you don't have the tech expertise to do it, so there's two things that you can do. So the first one is you can generate passive income by onboarding businesses and other users to using MOCA, because when you get a business to start accepting crypto through MOCA using the main Bitcoin Cash wallet or any other wallet, you're going to get a percentage of those of the revenue that MOCA generates, and you get it lifetime. That's not going to be forever. Probably will be 1 year. I don't know, maybe 3 years. We haven't defined this yet, but it's kind of like what Zay said. Yes, we're trying to take on the big conglomerates and the payment processors. We are not a processor. We are an enabler. We are just connecting we're letting people transact peer-to-peer without having to go through all of the hoops that they usually have to with normal blockchain technology, right? The other one would be to, like Zay said, onboard wallets. But here's the third one, and this is something that we haven't really said out loud before, but it's something that might be worthy mentioning here. Zay said we don't want to go the VC route, right? What would be the other way that things could look? Well, either you have users or you have community members with enough wealth that they want to help MOCA grow by having a stake in the system, which is getting the MOCA token. This is not a shield of the token; it's a shield of how they can get involved and help us maintain the ethos of MOCA and Bitcoin Cash in this case by getting revenue from MOCA through token holding. You have all of these tokens where they can be part of a DAO and make decisions and, I don't know, control mining and all of this stuff. But we are a fully consumer approach. Our revenue model is fully consumer approach. So whenever someone uses MOCA, there's revenue generated. That doesn't go to MOCA. That actually goes to the token holders. The team is part of the token holders, right? So that's how we make our money. And that's how we only get money if we get adopted. So there are no grants. There are no free flow of money to our treasury without delivering. If we don't deliver, nobody gets to it, right? That's one. And the other one would be, and what I imagine would be the best scenario for everyone, would be that aligned blockchains, for example, like Bitcoin Cash, they decide, okay, so here's a good amount of money, give me some tokens. I want to be invested in the ecosystem. I want to make revenue as a blockchain or as a treasury of the blockchain, and be staked on a higher time frame, say 20 years, 30 years, how foundations work, traditional foundations, traditional investment. And that would be the best case scenario, because it helps us keep having a runway and at the same time not giving any control or any stake to parties that might not have the same vision that we have.
Yeah, fascinating. I've just been making some notes here, because this is a real insight for us as to where we're maybe lacking, where we can step up our game. And obviously, other people will be in the same situation as you. So it's kind of like direct customer feedback in a way. I think it's fascinating. So a minimal number of dependencies, especially in light of the NPM hacks and stuff, that's obviously going to be critical. Having support for more niche programming languages also sticks out as me as a huge opportunity, because like BCH, we basically have JavaScript, maybe C++, I think the stuff that David Shattuck does, but a lot of those other things, if you can make it easier for people building on alternative tech stacks, that will make a world of difference. So maybe that is something that we can look into. And I was fascinated that it was very heavy on the tech side and not so much like community support or outreach or anything like that, which makes sense because maybe that's where you guys already feel strong and you feel like you're going to be reaching users directly. Is that
here we managed to get here? So I think
exactly.
we're doing good on that front.
Yes.
So yeah, the other parts are also important, but yeah, community, it's really important. Like if you don't follow us on socials, go and follow us on X. At least if you don't want to follow me, you don't want to follow Eric, at least go and follow the MOCA app X account. You will see the news and you will be hearing about releases and new features, and we even ask the community what will they want. It depends on every day, how it works. But yeah, that's also a huge way for us to to get help from you, you can go there, and our DMs are open. You can tag us in some reply or quote, whatever, and let us know about something interesting that you will like to see in the MOCA ecosystem, or something that you don't like. Let us know. Like, we are here for you. So if you have some good, negative, neutral comments, let them come. Like, we're not gonna block you just for saying something that you don't like about the product, like some other accounts do. As long as you're respectful, you're good. So yeah, that's also an important part of the community. And I don't say it enough. We want MOCA to be the cross-chain ecosystem of payments and real-world transaction for normies and for crypto bros and for everyone. We want to bring the most chains as possible, as long as they share the same mentality, the same ethos. Uh, we want to be part of it. We want to be like that umbrella that brings these movements, transactions, businesses into crypto through us, but can go to all of the different chains. Like, you can still have the same game of fighting each other, like, I'm better because of this and that, and like trying to improve your tech, because that's the only way that you can win, actually, like good marketing and good tech. But we don't want to deal with that part in the background. Like, that's on you chains. We just want to let the users choose whatever they want and pay with whatever they want, get whatever they want without even thinking about it. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, the backwards compatibility part is fascinating as well too, right? Because I know, like, for instance, the guys at General Protocols and in the BCH protocol upgrades as well, we're always trying to not break things on the user end, because for a company like yours, you don't want to have that one coin that is always doing a fresh update, that is always tweaking this or changing this. Like, if your existing stuff starts breaking, separate to, okay, there might be new and great features, but the biggest headache a business can ever have is that one of their suppliers is like breaking their dependencies in that way on the protocol itself and the transaction signing. And so I think that's just a good message that I want to reinforce to the listeners, is that I think BCH does a pretty good job of that, but especially as we start to grow and more people are building their infrastructure around us, we have to be extra vigilant about that, because it doesn't take very much for somebody to say, oh, why is BCH changing this thing again? And you've just lost all interest and credibility, I imagine, right?
And that's also something that we have to think about as a company, because we are going to have these APIs for wallets and businesses. So we cannot be changing every time, like every month, how they receive the data and how they send the data, because then all the integration is lost, and their business will start crashing. If we can have that working for years and years on the same, not on the core side, but on the user side, that's the best thing also for us. So that's something that I'm always telling my team, like, don't update that part of it. Like, do everything you have to do here in the background, but let's keep this the same way. And yeah, I rather delay a week than launching something and they changing it a week later. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Hey, Jeremy, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to derail the
No,
flow,
we're chatting.
So here's something very. So we've gotten some feedback about this, but like, to be like the agnostic enabler for cross-chain payments, right? But that doesn't mean that we'll have, like, of course, we align more with certain ecosystems where we're not going to be like prioritizing something in the front end because we want to keep, agnostic. But I know you don't speak for the Bitcoin Cash general community, but you have your own opinion. So you mentioned, for example, Dash. Dash wants Dash to grow, right? Dash wants the ticker Dash to get more usage, right? Bitcoin Cash, obviously, you want the BCH ticker to get more adopted and more.
Is it me or we lost him?
I think we just lost him. Right as
What was
right
the
as we were
question?
getting, yeah, right as we were getting.
No, he'll be back soon. I will just go back to one of the questions that you make, and I think I forgot to answer. It's how are we going to get revenue? So
Yes.
we have some tokenomics around this, and Sorry, Eric, I jumped you because you were out of here. The tokenomics, as Eric said, is everything goes to the token, right? And we are going to have a set amount of tokens. It's going to be 10 million tokens. That's it. No more, no minting extra tokens, no other tokens. Like that's the entire supply. How we get money, since we're using Thorchain and Maya at the moment, we're also using Chainflip. When a swap happens in the background, we can set some affiliate fees for us and for the referrers. So if you refer a wallet or you refer a business or a user, you can get a spread of that swap, basically. And that's the way that we generate some revenue. We share those fees. We want this to be fair play and fair game for every wallet and every integrator. So the way that this works is that we don't want to steal your users. So we don't want your user to think that, oh, it's better to pay with the MOCA wallet because it's cheaper than paying with the Selene wallet, That's not fair for you. Then you won't want to integrate because I will steal your users. Instead of that, we are going to make sure that everyone that integrates, it's charging the same 50 bips. That's how it works. That's how it goes. We are not fighting over bips on the payments.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it has an affiliate or not. The user will pay this exact same amount if he pays with Selene or if he pays with the MOCA wallet. So that's also important to mention here, because since we control the AP key that allows you to scan and do all the payment part of it, if we realize that you're not like playing fair and you're modifying the memos in the transaction, we can block your AP key and you're out of the game. Like, sorry, we warned you 2 or 3 times. You're still doing this unfair game. You're out of the system. Like we wanted to, and we will have to, unfortunately, let you go and post something on X and say, hey guys, sorry, we have to release this wallet from our ecosystem. Sorry for the inconvenience, blah, 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 But as long as you're playing fair and you think it's a fair game, everybody will charge the same. And from that fee, we'll get it to the token. It will go to the different pools that has different amount of tokens depending on where they are. And that's how if you're a token holder, you get revenue out of us because your token will go up. And that's how we as a team also get revenue, like we hold most of the tokens at the moment. So most of the revenue goes to us, but eventually as we sell and get more investors, they will get a part of it. But we currently have one pool in Maya. So you can use Maya to swap any token that is supported on the Maya chain and swap it to MOCA token. So if you want to do that, we have the Ethereum based token in Maya. We're also planning on adding, I think it's going to be a Binance token in Thorchain, and then we can start doing some more tokens.
Amazing. Eric, do you want to finish your question? You were talking about how the BCH community is obviously aligned to driving BCH usage, and then you needed my opinion on some aspect of that. What was it?
Yes, exactly. So, sorry about that. I think my connection is stable now. Doing it live from Korea Blockchain Week. So how would a blockchain, and not specifically Bitcoin Cash, this is good feedback for us. So since we are cross-chain and we are opening the tech stack for many blockchains, do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage to be able to compete directly with other blockchains that are definitely going to try to empower the usage of their own blockchain, et cetera, et cetera? Because so what's going to happen, and what we ideally wish will happen, is that MOCA gets accepted. Let's say here in Korea, everyone is accepting crypto through MOCA, but there's 20 blockchains, 30 blockchains that want you to use their own token to pay for stuff at the grocery store. There's going to be some cashback ideas. There's going to be some marketing, co-marketing, whatever. But as the other party, as the chain party, is this positive? Like, because there's So obviously, all of these blockchains generate their own solutions, and they are like, we're going to push this so hard that everyone is going to be using, I don't know, Ethereum, Solana, whatever. But once you are in the same tech stack, you can basically, you have the access to all of these users, but also all of the other chains have this access to all of these users. So how is it perceived for you guys? Maybe this is good feedback for us.
Yes. Well, I think I'm famous, I think, on this show for saying my attitude is one of sort of BCH non-toxic maximalism, right? Which is that so far the community has had the best results with BCH only type of products, right? Which is why historically, because it's been very small, it hasn't had a lot of extra resources to do things like focus on integrations with ThorChain or integrations with MOCA or any other company in the scene. You typically see like the bigger coins, like you said, Solana, Ethereum, maybe BTC, they can kind of get included by default, and they can also afford to spend more resources outside their sort of core infrastructure, right? On those side or tertiary projects. But I think that the BCH community does the best by focusing internally, that it builds more and more BCH only products because of the reliability, which is that sometimes people might be excited about BCH accepting in their service today, but then in 2 years, we don't know. Maybe they have changed their mind. However, I think that that's partly a product of BCH's small size. So I'm really interested, like for instance, with MOCA app, in seeing whether BCH can start to compete with some of those bigger coins, because you guys will have that data directly. So you'll, for instance, on sideshift.ai, they do research reports, which are very, very interesting, where they support a whole number of coins. And I'm always looking at that to see, is BCH trending up against the competition or is it trending down? And that's super valuable insight for us to have. It's also really important when we're coming to things like cash tokens, now that the BCH ecosystem is not just doing BCH, but it's also starting to build its own internal stable coins and so forth. For us to drive adoption of those, obviously we can do it internally in BCH, but to the extent that we can convince like you guys to add cash token support, maybe for like Moria USD or upcoming assets, that will also massively help the reach of our ecosystem, because BCH is maybe a known brand to a certain extent, but the smaller tokens and so forth are not. So having that propagated on your platform where it's becoming one of the options and hopefully one of the more used options, so then you will invest, like it's a two-way cycle, right? If you guys see a lot of really good usage from BCH, you see a really good response from the BCH community, you see that things are working, you will invest more of your time in building integrations with our latest features and so forth, which will then bring people to say, oh, wow, BCH is different. I'm going to try this out. But we can't start that cycle unless we are proactive about finding people and getting them using BCH at the basic level, but then also building that relationship to, escalate to the new things that we have coming down the pipeline, which is a competitive advantage. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, and it's all about, evening the playing field. Because right now, like you said, there's ecosystem that have more development money, you could call it, so that they can create their own solutions. But with MOCA, as long as you are supported by Thorchain Maya or Chainflip, we are giving the users, the user base, the option to pay with any of those tokens. So that's also going to prove product market fit of some tokens, right? Because in the end, if your transaction is cheaper and faster, and the user has a way of getting it, then it will get suggested to them. So it's also encouraging all of these ecosystems to become the best version of that they can be. Because right now, for example, if you have, and I keep failing to mention other blockchains, but you have Solana, for example, there's a lot of adoption there, but maybe there's no real product market fit for payments, for example. But since a lot of people have it, then they get more traction. But in MOCA,
Exactly.
if you have a good blockchain and you have a good token and you have good usage or good utility, and then that's a way for Bitcoin Cash to get more users from other ecosystems. So it's like putting everyone in the same field and saying, okay, do your best, right? And the best one will win.
Yeah, that's what I
Exactly.
was trying to say about you keep on fighting to each other chains by having. I see it as, remember back in the day before Android, there was like every company was building their own phone OS, and like they were fighting because they have PS1 games in their in their phones, and they are able to have 3D graphics now and whatever. Like, but they were having their own Symbian OS, and like everybody was fighting for the OS, and every phone was like so wacky, whatever. And then Android came alive, and everybody started adopting Android, and it just worked. So they stopped fighting over the software, and they just stopped working on having better tech, like having better resolution in their screen, better cameras, better battery life, and all this other really important stuff. And now everybody uses Android. So we want to be like that, but for the payments, there's these chains trying to develop or putting money from the treasury into some other company building some payment solution that will be the best for this token and this chain. Don't do that. Use us. Like, you can use us, and just you'll be available for all these other people that are already using it. Stop putting your money and your focus on building your own custom payment, and let's build one. Like, we really hope we can be that one, but if you think we're not that and somebody else, the ethos at the end is, let's have one that really works, that works well, that escalates well, that it's reliable, and that every chain can put their token there, and like the user can choose the best option. And maybe we have later on some filters out there, like they want to have like real tokens, like I want to have the Bitcoin, not any crap token. And some other people is like, I don't care if it's a real or not, I just want it to be fast, or I want it to be cheap, or I want it to be a meme coin because I want to like use this as a Russian roulette of a lottery of, I will get some random meme coin and I will look on in a month and see if I got money or not. There's many ways to do this later on, but yeah, I think it's important for the chains to focus on what's important for them, like building a more reliable chain, more fast chain, having more space in the transactions, being secure once post quantum comes, like having their chain built on that tech. And all these things are really important. So if you start losing the focus of that amazing technology that you're building and putting more effort into something else, well, I think somebody else will do better at the end of the day, because they will just focus on the chain and have a really great chain.
Yes, we shouldn't be afraid of direct competition. We have to be able to stand up to the heat in the marketplace. And so I think the more integrations we have and the more points of view we have and contacts with especially as BCH is starting to grow now. Before it was quite small and there was a lot of internal division, but now like we've got our own act together. So I think the community has more sort of mental bandwidth and resources to start reaching out and seeing what value we can deliver to others, and then build those relationships over time. Which brings me to my next topic about conferences. You've said, Eric, you're there at the Korean Blockchain Week, and there's also Token 2049 is coming up, which is in Singapore, one of these huge crypto meetups. I think it might be maybe the biggest one in the world, or maybe sort of comparable to the BTC conference every year. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about going to crypto conferences, because it's a very big investment by a team to send people around the world to conferences. But at the same time, the potential payoff is huge, because that's where the action is. And often connections made in person can pay huge dividends that you couldn't have found any other way. What are you doing in Korea? What's the strategy there?
Yes, indeed, it's expensive, and as a bootstrapped company, you have to choose your battles, right? So we do have a couple of other conferences later this year that we're aiming for, but you have to be very selective and you have to make the most out of your time. So right now, what we're doing in KBW and then Token 2049, it's going to be, well, it has been two things mainly. The first one is to get real feedback from people who don't give a rat's ass about us, so they can actually give me one face-to-face feedback and tell me, okay, so how, and people are trying to even dissect what we're doing and finding flaws. So this is actually good because it's a way for us to either get validation or get enough feedback to say, okay, maybe we should be doing things differently here, or maybe we should be aiming for this, or we're doing good things in this side. So that's the first one, get real feedback. And the other one, of course, is to find good partners. I'm not gonna disclose names, but there's already a couple of companies that want to buy us, and I was like, okay, no, wait, we want to stay focused, but at the same time, that validates us that we're on the right track, right? And this is something that I've been mentioning a lot. Stable coins are the trend right now, especially because there's institutions and governments wanting to Trojan horse their way into crypto, or maybe not even Trojan horse, like just ram their beliefs into crypto and their money making abilities. But it's also validation for us because they saw this trend coming 2 years ago, and that's when he started building MOCA. So yes, we're bootstrapped. We might not be as fast as a billion-dollar company building the same stuff, but we're on the right track, right? And we know we cannot win together. If we want to take on these giants and these behemoths controlling the current payment processing alternatives, but also the monetary alternatives, and if we want to push blockchain as an alternative peer-to-peer cash system, we cannot do it together. But we have to do it with the right partners, and we have to do it with the right communities. Otherwise, you get lost in the process and you actually end up getting hijacked, which is something that you know a little bit about.
Yes.
but that's the main thing. We have to choose the players. And like you said, a face-to-face meeting goes way 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 further. Sorry, English is my 17th language. So you have to have this human connection, and you have to know if that person might like they have a great company, but I feel like they will exit in 1 year because they just want to make money, right? And you want to partner with the people that have this long-term commitment to changing the world. When you're building to change the world, you cannot have partners that only want to make money. And this is tricky because of all the people that I've spoken with, probably 90% agree with with the worldview that I personally have about the hijack of Bitcoin, about trying to disrupt the system, etc. This is not MOCA's point of view. This is me disrupting the system, creating this alternative cash, blah blah blah. But since they work with a company that answers to other entities and has other agendas, they have to be vocal about pretty much an entirely different narrative or an entirely different worldview, because they have to be aligned with the ethos of the company, right? So those are the main two. First, know that we're on the right track and that we will find product market fit, and the other one is to find worthy companies and worthy ecosystems to partner with.
And so what is it about specific conferences that maybe in the marketing or the reputation that makes you take note, like, of course, there's all different options all around the world. You could go to conferences, like Bliss or like the BTC conference that are specific to one coin and maybe like try and target that, or you could go to the more general ones. What's your strategy in allocating your limited resources among the conferences? How do you find the best ones to go to?
Yeah, Zay, do you want to take that?
Well, the most important part of it is how can we get value out of it? That's what we gotta think about, especially since money is a limited resource. And I'm always telling Eric, please start looking in X and see who's gonna be there beforehand, and start like asking around who's actually intending to go or having a space or some conference, whatever. Like, look into most of them and see if you can arrange a meeting beforehand with someone that is of our interest. And if we manage to get a decent amount of outside the event meetings, then I think it's valuable and it's worth going. But it's also like the event, it's the end of the work that goes into actually going to an event, to a conference. Like the work starts months before, like seeing people talk about, like see who's in X spaces or in their own feed sharing that they're gonna be there, and taking notes of what type of people is going, what type of chains are going. Also look at the map of the event and see who's actually paying to be there. Because that's also, if we see other, like, I don't know, Stripe is buying a lot of people in the crypto, and then you see that Stripe has a huge ass stand there. Well, then they are seeing something that we might not. So let's go and see, why are they putting that much money into buying a huge stand, and why do they think that it's valuable to be there? And then you have strategies that might be good, might be not. But like, once you're there, if there's this huge company that's doing something kind of what we're doing, and there's people really interested in their booth and asking questions, well, then ask them what are they looking for, and then we can learn. Also, it's like a market research, because those are the users that are gonna put it in their businesses, or they're gonna use it in their phones. So I think that's also some other ways to get value out of those places. And you can also get surprises, like you get to know someone that you didn't reach out before, and someone that you just met there and realize that it's like a really good contact to have. Or even from the speakers, if you see who's going to speak and about what they're speaking, then you can realize that, I don't know, there's this guy that developed this amazing chain that it's basically really good for what we're building, and we might want to integrate that. Well, go and try to get in touch with him and see if we can do something together. So that's also a valuable thing to look around. Yeah, I think those are like the most important things. But also, it's presence. Like, if you share in your X feed that you're gonna be there, there's people that really care about your product and that they are following you, and they happen to be there, or they don't go to the conferences, but they are from the town that the conference is going to take place at, and they want to reach out and see, hey, especially to us, because we are giving lifetime fees and to people. There's people like contacting us from all over the world saying, hey, I want to be your official ambassador in this hometown somewhere in Africa or somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Asia. We're like, great. So then people from Korea might see that Eric's going to be there, and they want to chat with them and see how they can do something for us and help us spread the word. So that's also like brand awareness is really important. Like having the hats in the stage, or bringing your MOCA shirt, and like everybody seeing the MOCA in the back of your shirt. That's also important. And if somebody already knows a bit about MOCA, they will just stop you and say, hey, where do you get the hat? Like, do they have a booth? And then you can explain, no, I'm Eric. I'm the guy like doing all these crazy things in X spaces and posting everything out there. So that's also really important. Like, how many people is attending the conference? Is it good for you to be there? especially us being a multi-chain and multi-token solution. Well, we found more value in being in conferences of multiple chains, because then we can talk to more integrations and more people that really care about their chain, because that's how it is. You get into a chain and you don't want to leave it because you believe in its philosophy, its ethos, and you want to make it grow with you because you're so invested into it. But then we are here, we have this product, and you can be part of it. You're not excluded from it. So now it's important. So for me, I think that those are the things to look for. And once you add all of that together, it's really worth it to go. But as you said,
Yeah.
we cannot be everywhere. Unfortunately, we would love to, but we can't. So yeah, we
But
do that in
this is exactly where the referral system and the revenue generation comes into play. So I always say that my work will be done when I'm not needed, when I'm so irrelevant that I don't have to be the one going to conferences, or Zay doesn't have to go because Zay was in London. But the moment that we don't have to do it is when we'll know that we've gained enough traction to let MOCA grow by itself. And this is something so beautiful, because when you see someone being very active on a blockchain, you're like, oh, he's probably a whale, right? That's why he's shilling his shitcoin, whatever. But no, with MOCA, you can actually be someone with $5 in your bank account, and you're just looking to get MOCA more adopted, because that that it's also going to be profitable for you. Well, maybe not profitable. It's going to generate passive income for you, because the more people you onboard, you get revenue from all their transactions, right? So you have a way, and we're giving all of these people, all of the. So we are Mexicans. We are from the third world. We understand that sometimes you don't have the acquisition power, the monetary acquisition power to buy in $100,000 worth of your favorite native token blockchain, right? So you are like, okay, so how can I generate value for myself while generating value for the blockchain? I'm either whale, a big stakeholder, a dev, or something, and that's pretty much it. Because you might want to get into GameFi, or you want to get into SocialFi, and you build your stack, whatever. But it's so much work, and it's so hard for the small user or for the person without funds to actually, build a bag for the future, build their portfolio, right? But if you give people the tools from Nigeria, for example, you see all of these people from Nigeria, from the Philippines, from Mexico, from Venezuela, trying to make a living out of crypto, and it's so hard. But when you give them the tools to empower adoption of crypto and create some income, then the whole mindset shifts, because you don't need to pay someone to go knock door to door on businesses and say, hey, do you want to accept crypto? And because if they wanted to do that for another blockchain or for a specific project, they would need to be vested, right? They need to have an interest in getting that adopted. But with MOCA, they can just go and say, hey, accept crypto. And then they have an interest, because they will generate passive income. So the idea is, to be long story short, we want to tackle Web2 conferences as well. Well, traditional conferences, small businesses. The government sponsor a lot of conferences like this, events, etc. People from all over the world are going to be able to just go to their local events and shield crypto through MOCA. And that's going to be beautiful.
Yes, I mean, this is fascinating insights for me, because on two angles. One, I'm hosting, the Bliss conference for BCH, so it gives me some ideas of, potentially how we can attract people to come check that out. But then also, there's been some suggestion. It hasn't so much happened yet, but we did it a little bit with OpNext this year, that I might start rolling up to other conferences, to promote BCH and basically shill it to everyone there. So that was actually some incredible insight that I'm going to need to do a bit of reflecting on, in terms of putting in the groundwork ahead of a conference like that. Can be really impactful. Okay, we have a final segment that we do with every listeners on the show, or every guest on the show, which is called Message to the Community, which is where you can each just freestyle whatever you think the BCH community needs to hear, whatever is important or underappreciated or a takeaway or a funny story, whatever it is that you think the BCH community really needs to hear. Maybe starting with you, Eric, do you have any thoughts? What is the message to the BCH community?
Yeah, so I think my main message, and this is not for BCH specifically. Don't think I'm jabbing at you guys, but get off Twitter. There's a huge world out there with, and I don't say I'm not speaking about go out there in the real world. Go to Reddit, go to YouTube. I found out actually not long ago, and I'm ashamed of admitting this, but for example, there are other blockchains where 99% of the people do not use X. They get all their information from YouTube. So, yeah, I think creating memes on X, it's a great strategy, and you guys are actually doing good because I've found some good memes on X. But once you start opening your panorama of places where you can talk about your tech and your community, you start to realize that X is overrated and that there's so many low hanging fruits in other platforms. If you go to TikTok, if you go to Reddit, to YouTube, you will see that it's actually easier to onboard people to from these platforms and not just try to fight in a coliseum that is X, where the biggest money holders have an advantage to you against you. So I would say that's one of the and that's what we are trying to do. Of course, it takes time and it takes manpower, but I mean, the crypto would be in such a better place if we stopped just doing X.
Yes. No, actually, that's a fascinating and interesting suggestion. I'll be reflecting on that one as well, too. Zay, what's your message to the BCH community?
First of all, thanks for having us here. Not only you, but the community to wanting to be part of MOCA community and us allowing us to be part of your community. That's something big, and we really appreciate that. And sharing the same mindset, it's also something that I really, really like. I really like to talk people that share the same vision of the world. So thanks for that. Also, please keep fighting for what you believe in. Keep fighting for your freedom of speech, your freedom of every single freedom that you have right now. Don't lose it. Fight for it. We are constantly being fighting for that freedom, like in government legislations, even the way we speak. Everybody's trying to tell you how to speak and how to not behave. So keep fighting for your freedom. Just be mindful of everybody else around you. Like, you don't have to be rude, you don't have to be mean. You can fight for your freedom in many different ways. You're doing an amazing job with what you're doing, even though it hasn't been a smooth ride all along. You're doing an amazing job. You're growing. I feel great to know that you're growing, like you're having more transactions every day, passing through the chain. I'm really glad that you now have the cash tokens. That's also a good way to bring in more people into the chain, and use what you have and get the most out of it. And don't be afraid to take risks, because sometimes we think that we're so little, we're so small. Let's take the safest path to whatever we want to go. But sometimes the safest path is really slow, and somebody's gonna take the risk and cut you off. So don't be afraid to just don't be negligent with your decisions as a community, as a chain, but take the risk. Sometimes you have to do it. I recently saw the Nike movie, and they took a risk with Jordan, and now they're huge and they're everywhere, and it was a huge risk, but it paid off. And most of the well-known chains and well-known projects, Web2 or Web3, they grew because they took a risk. It's hard to find a good big tech company that always took the right decision and made the right choice, and they were not investing millions and millions in developing this new tech that they might not know if it was going to work. Like, for sure they have tens and hundreds of projects there that didn't work, but they just have to have one good project and do that. Like, as a community, don't be afraid to share what it's in your mind, to defend what you believe in, and take risks. I think that's important.
Very inspirational, and yeah, I think well taken to heart by the BCH community. I've been a little surprised, even being as involved as I am, the appetite for the protocol upgrades is actually moving along faster than I generally expected, which is hard to do in a growing decentralized community. You know, the temptation, well, okay, let's not mess up what we've got, or let's kind of trend towards ossifying or something like that. But everybody does seem to be very positive on upgrades. So I think we do have a bit of that mentality, and certainly we need to retain it. Okay, let's give final shout outs to our FundMe contributors. Majamali Marcelo, Jeremy is made of whatever profits are made of. Molecular, the show we love. At Cash Stamps, keep building and broaching. Erdogan Talk, economics writer. Big Hair, love the show, love your hair. Milton Friedman, Purely Peer, purelypeer.cash. Discover the thrill of quest hunting, find hidden cash drops and collect BCH. Ryan Giffen, keep it up, boys. DGN and FurQ. Fresh hardcore BCH rap anthem coming at you. The Green Comeback Kids, get it at https://nwb.cash. And Cash Dragon, pump it up. Our patrons, Ricky and Kyle, and our donators, and our sponsor, General Protocols, check out bchbull.com. Obviously, bitcoincashpodcast.com for all the information about the show itself. And final opportunity to shill or refer people as well for you guys. So it's home.moca.app. And is there anything else you want to refer people to, Eric? That's it. No?
Thanks for having us here, and thanks for bearing with us for almost 2 hours.
No, it's been great, and I'm sure this can be the start of an ongoing relationship. You know, like we're trying to build out more into the broader cryptocurrency ecosystem, and like you said, you know, we're taking a chance on you. You're going to make it big, and we're going to have been there from the start. So,
yes. Hey, can I add one last thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought about this, but this may be something good to end my side of things. You have to keep in mind that people respond 100 times better to positive impulses, and being antagonistic is not it's not a good long-term strategy. So keep things positive, guys. And you know, whatever happened in the past, try to focus on what Bitcoin Cash is good for, not what it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Keep it positive. Absolutely. Focus on play to your strengths, they say.
Exactly.
Forget about the weaknesses. Jet, do you have any final shout outs?
No shout outs, but I do have a question for you guys.
All right.
I've never tried the app. I saw like a couple mentions of it over the past couple of weeks, but I have not downloaded it yet. Do you have Cash Fusion integrated? And is that something you'd be interested in?
We don't have it integrated yet, but we might talk about that if you think that's a good fit for MOCA. We're open to integrate everything that works for the project.
Okay. So the reason I brought this up is because Stack Wallet uses Dart and Flutter as well. And I believe one of the members of the BCH community, I think it was John Old Fukeball that did it. But I might have that wrong. So please forgive me if I'm spreading misinformation. But yeah, there should be a Dart library that you can just import and like be ready to go.
Damn, that might actually work out really nicely. We'll have to link you up with that. That's Cash Fusion, the coin mixing privacy on BCH. And of course, with coin mixing, the more people you have mixing from the more different sources, the better it gets for everyone. So that's actually that's a good catch. Actually, that's a good thought that was in Flutter.
It's a great way to integrate privacy to MOCA. So
yeah. Okay, all right. Well, that has real potential.
Sorry, I didn't know that it was built on Dart. So I'll check those docs up as soon as we hang up.
And my shout out for this week goes to Luke Jr. We're not covering it in depth today, but we'll probably circle around to it. But he has just had text messages leaked. There's a lot of controversy about exactly what he is saying or implying, but about doing a hard fork on BTC to filter out questionable data. We have the what's it called, V30 of Bitcoin Core dropping potentially in the next week, or if not, probably some more information about it. And there's a huge drama and chaos going on in the BTC scene about that. So thank you to Luke Jr. for lighting that match, and we'll follow up on that story on a future episode. All right, that's it. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Nana, exit liquidity, hold Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, hold Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, dump it all. Hard Nana, dump it all. Chain and blinking, step into the trade. There's more to lose than can never be won, more to dump than can never be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low, what a game. But the boomers know, and Sailor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars. But the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Nana, exit liquidity, hot Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, hot Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, dump it all. Hard Nana, dump it all.